New updates about Lamar Jackson just dropped, and honestly, they changed the whole vibe heading into the game against the Jets. After he scared everyone by skipping Wednesday's practice because of that ankle, he finally got back on the field this Thursday, and that alone brought a huge wave of relief. But the way all this played out leaves you with that feeling that there's more going on than it looks on the surface. And here's the thing. This is the second week in a row Lamar skips Wednesday and only shows up the next day. He's been dealing with different types of soreness, took 5 sacks in the last game, and still carries a recent history of nagging injuries. So even though having him back is great news, there's still that cloud of suspense hanging over how he's really feeling and how much this might impact the Ravens over the next few days. Lamar Jackson definitely spooked everyone at the start of the week. On Wednesday, he didn't show up to practice because of the ankle, and that instantly raised questions about his status for the game. But the next day, he walked right back out there like, "Relax, I'm good." That alone calmed the entire building down. And it all makes even more sense when you remember he took 5 sacks against the Browns. 5 big hits like that will leave anybody sore. So the Ravens held him out for a day just to avoid any unnecessary setback. Kind of the same thing they did last week when his knee was bothering him. Having him back on Thursday helps the offense settle into its rhythm again. Everything just works smoother when he's on the field. The plays come out cleaner. The tempo feels normal, and the team doesn't have to switch up the entire weekly plan. Just having Lamar out there puts everything back on track. And that brings us to an important point. Even though Lamar keeps returning quickly, you can't ignore how many little physical issues he's been dealing with. And all these it's piling up start to shape how the rest of the season might unfold. Something that becomes even clearer when we look at the pattern of injuries he's had. The truth is, Lamar's been running into small obstacles all year. First, it was a quad injury against the Chiefs that sidelined him for 3 straight games. Then he had knee soreness. And now it's the ankle. It feels like there's always something trying to slow him down. Still, every time he comes back, the team instantly responds. Since his return on October 30th, Baltimore has stacked 3 straight wins. It's like his presence snaps everything back into place. His numbers explain why. He's hitting a high percentage of passes, avoiding mistakes, and keeping the offense efficient. Those details show exactly why he swings the outcome of games so much. That's also why the team takes it easy on him during practice, especially when his body starts complaining a little. Because of the cycle of hits and quick returns, the Ravens have to balance 2 things at the same time. Let Lamar play the way he wants, but without pushing him too hard. Every week turns into this careful balancing act to keep him available and explosive without risking another injury. So far, that balance has worked, but it requires constant attention. And that need to protect Lamar is starting to change something pretty important in his game: how often he runs the ball. And if you pay attention, it's easy to see why that shift is happening this year. One of the first things you notice about Lamar this year is how much less he's running. Instead of constantly taking off with his legs, he's staying in the pocket more, looking for throws and letting the offense flow a bit differently. It's almost like he took his foot off the gas just enough to play a more controlled style. And this didn't just happen randomly. After all the injuries in recent seasons, the team wants to keep him as healthy as possible. Running less means taking fewer hits, and that automatically increases the chances of having him on the field when the season gets tight. It's a simple plan, but a smart one. At the same time, the threat of the run is still there. At any moment, he can pull it down and rip off a big gain, and defenses know it. Even if he's not running as often, the fact that he can run changes how teams defend him on every snap. And of course, this shift highlights something else: how head coach John Harbaugh views this new version of Lamar. He's talked a lot about it, and the way he defends Lamar shows just how much trust the team has in him.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
When Harbaugh was asked why Lamar isn't running as much, his answer was simple: he doesn't need to run all the time. For the coach, what matters is Lamar making the right decisions and helping the team win. And in his eyes, That's exactly what's happening. He even mentioned that out of nowhere, Lamar could show up with a 100-yard rushing game. In other words, the option is still there. They just don't have to use it every week. Reporters also asked about Lamar completing under 60% of his passes in his last 2 games. And again, Harbaugh didn't sound concerned at all. According to him, what matters is that Lamar keeps finding ways to win, even when the numbers aren't perfect. It shows he isn't obsessed with stats. He's focused on results. This attitude sends a clear message. Lamar has the freedom to play the way the game demands. If it's through the air, great. If it's with his legs, also great. What matters is keeping the wins coming, and Harbaugh makes that obvious every time he answers these questions. And that confidence becomes even more important with what's coming up next, because the AFC North race is tight, and every game means more than the last. The Ravens head into this matchup against the Jets at a crucial point in the season. They're riding a 3-game winning streak. The team feels confident, and there's a real sense they can keep building momentum. But there's one detail you can't ignore. The Steelers are still 1 game ahead in the AFC North. That makes everything tighter and turns every game into a step that can shift the standings. The good news is that Lamar being back at practice stabilizes everything. When he's part of the week's preparation, the offense just works more naturally, like everyone suddenly knows exactly where they fit. Facing a tough Jets defense requires that kind of organization, because any mistake can cost you. And having Lamar out there, even after the ankle scare, helps the team build its game plan without needing to reinvent anything. This matchup also becomes a test of consistency. Baltimore knows it can't let the division slip away because of small mistakes, and that puts extra weight on every week. It's not unnecessary pressure. It's just the reality of a tight race. That's why Lamar's health and the offense's rhythm matter so much. They're the core pieces holding everything together. And it's exactly this blend of confidence, caution, and focus that makes this upcoming game so interesting. Because if the Ravens can keep the same standard they've shown recently, the path to catching, or even passing, the Steelers becomes a lot clearer. With every update, it's obvious the Ravens are walking a very thin line between protecting Lamar and leaning on him to keep the team competitive. He comes back fast, restores the offense, and carries the unit even while dealing with ankle issues, knee soreness, and that constant stream of hits. And now, heading into such an important matchup with the Jets while the Steelers stay a step ahead, every detail of his physical condition matters more than ever. This mix of relief and concern has become normal, and it says everything about where the team stands right now. So now I want to know something simple. Do you think Lamar can keep up this pace until the end, or will these small injuries catch up to him at the worst possible moment? Because with how tight the AFC North is, any slip changes everything. And if the Ravens really want to fight for the top, they'll need not just Lamar's talent, but this delicate balance to hold strong all the way to the final whistle.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.